Hey Baldwin, what's going on, buddy? How are we doing tonight? Baldwin, are you East Coast? Because I'm on the East Coast. Just curious if this is like a late show or an early show. I don't know. I'm doing good. I'm East Coast, cool. Are you in the Jason Kuna community? It seems like a lot of people from that community come over here. Hello, McBatman. Humfari's here. Excellent. Glorious greetings to you. Always great to be in your company, sir. What's new? You working on any music? Got any good music coming down the line? Baldwin says, I occasionally watch him. I also watch Yiz. Speaking of Yiz, I am scheduled for her show, Discordant Dragons, on the 18th. So put that on your calendar. There you go. Whenever I do that show, I always try to, I'm not contrarian, but I try to bring a bit of a different take. The guests that she usually has are people who run their own YouTube shows or what have you, and they tend to be very philosophical. Uh, they have like a lot of knowledge about politics, economics, a variety of things, and they're very, very well informed people. So they make like very, very good guests. Um, but how I look at it is like, well, if she's sort of already got that, then what can I bring? Maybe I can bring something different. Um, so I try to shake it up a little bit. Just to make the show more interesting for the viewers. You know what I mean? Um, I think I like, and I try to make some jokes as well once in a while. Just to be like, when you're around all these like serious philosophical people, it gets very dry. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm gonna say something stupid and funny, for a laugh. Hello to Robert Pyle, and thank you, Splatter Cat, for coming. So we're working on some new pages. I just finished this page. I'll back out a bit. Without knowing the story, it doesn't make sense. But anyway, I just finished that, so there you go. Did a lot of penciling, and I finished. So each quote issue for this. Let's see. Robert says, "I have a crown next to my name. What does that mean?" Well, it means you're a king, apparently. I don't honestly know. That's sort of a new thing that YouTube seems to be doing. What is it about philosopher types that make them lack humor? I've noticed this too. Um, I don't know, but it gets tedious. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm very philosophical, but I know how to crack a joke. I know how to have a laugh, have a little fun. And it's a culture. I mean, I've been on, and we've all heard shows like this, like for a long time, right? There's a lot of people out there putting out shows like this kind of stuff. And I think everybody's almost competing to have a hotter take on something, like, well, this is my view on that thing, and oh yeah, well, I have this view, and it's more, something or other, and I guess that makes for a good show, because you have like a kind of a neat variety of views and what have you. But it can get a little, you know, tedious, I guess. As far as I'm concerned, I like to have a laugh once in a while. I like to kind of shake it up a bit. I think that, yeah, that's just me. So wherever I can, I'll pop in a joke or say something funny. Um, but I'm very, very grateful to Yiz for having me. That's very, very awesome of her. Um, Hamfari says I have been doing woodworking lately. Wow. How do you like woodworking? Is that very satisfying? Um, I would imagine it's very similar to what I do in the sense that it takes a lot of concentration. Good. There's skill involved. Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it's sort of relaxing to you in some way. Probably. Um, how's the volcano situation over there? Hopefully things are a little more stable. There's been a lot of activity around the world. Tsunamis, earthquakes. Something's going on. Something big is going on. I can't say for sure. I don't know, but something big. Um, I'm hearing banging noises out my window right now, and hoping that it's somebody shooting off fireworks and not like guns. That would be nice. Um, Hamfari says it's one of my passions, so I love it. Good. I've been trying to make arrows for my archery perfect for years. Woo. That sounds really hard to do, to be honest with you. That sounds quite hard to do. But that's pretty darn cool. Yeah, there's a lot of loud banging going on outside my residence at the moment. Okay, I don't know what that is. Anyway. Ethnat Atheist, welcome back. Good to have you, bud. Um, let's see. We'll catch up here a little bit. Splattercat says the Earth's magnetic field is weakening. The sun has a lot of effect on earthquakes and weather. Very good. I was the crown mean you're a Kong. Yes, we was Kongs. Oh man. What did I see? I saw. Oh my God! Check this out. I saw a video the other day. It was one of these, like I don't know. It looked like it was from like the 1990s or something. It was like some kind of African talk show thing. And the guy on there, he's wearing one of those sort of like Native African shirts and the whole thing. He's like, he says that basically blacks invented computers, well, but because whites stole it from them, and how that works is that computers are they use a code language which is ones and zeros, which is basically drum beats, and so since the Africans invented drum beats, the white man stole that from him, and so technically Africans made computers. I just wanted you guys to know that. It's very important that you're aware of that. Just one more thing that we've stolen from them. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Will it ever end? Will it ever end? 'Cause, 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 'cause But yeah, I am wrapping up this 12-page issue, and then I will get the next script. And I get paid per 12-page issue. So then, that's good. Looking forward to that. Money's always a happy thing. Happy, happy. Um, and then I also have like a local comics freelance gig, and the dude who pays me for that just brought in a couple other investors, so that's really sweet. Um, that gives that gig like more security because the more people putting money in the pot, the better. So that brings a little security to that situation. I just realized something. Should I do that or should I not? I think I'll skip it. Just more garbage. Let's read some Chataroonies. We got. Hold on. Oh, you guys are flying. You went to the volcano yesterday. That's cool. I'd love to go check that out. What did the volcano say? Ha ha. It just grumbles. Maybe it's hungry. It's a shame the Aztecs are gone then. Oh, jeez. Ethnat says Greg Johnson said it best. Someone needs to write a book about black conventions and call it Not Even Peanut Butter. Oh my god, jeez. He's got a book on white nationalism. It's something like The Guide to White Nationalism or something. I bought that a couple of years ago. Very, very good read. Very, very good read. Strongly recommend that. That's the most retardedest thing I ever heard. Yeah. Sorry for the keyboard issues. Typo. Don't worry about it. The floor is lava. That's classic, dude. It's weird. You're like from another country, but you know that. So it's like kids everywhere do that game. Apparently, it must be some kind of like it's in our blood memory or something. Interesting stuff. Funny. So what else we got here? Wait, my crown was number 2. Okay, Hippocratic Oath says you use the N word 3 times on an airplane. What? Only when I'm wearing the Burger King hat, though. You gotta do it that way. There's some pretty funny, like Instagram reels where they have some like young dudes and they're on a plane and then they're filming their friend who's getting on the plane and he's wearing the Burger King hat, Because obviously only certain people are gonna know that video. I hate flying. I'm a huge not liking flying person. I have to take a flight for a wedding. Not soon, but like in like a year or something from now. And I'm just dreading it. Oh, it's like a really long flight. And oh god, I hate flying. So like, I've done a massive amount of travel, like try flying to Asia. That's over 24 hours on a plane or switching, the whole process. Um, I like being in another place. I just don't like getting to the other place. But damn, I hate flying. Oh. 'Cause I'm not a huge guy, but I'm not a small guy, and being like squished in those chairs for so many hours at a time. And I think one of the other things about it is you never know who's on the flight. It's kind of like you're trapped in that box with people you don't know for like so long, and who knows, what that could be like, I think you know what I'm trying to say. Um, no, I have to go to this wedding though. It's not like really a choice. Um, but I guess sometimes you gotta make sacrifices. Anyway, what kind of videos, interviews, and things have you guys been watching? Anything interesting? Been watching a lot of Arval. I think you may know that I reached out to him and I've got him on the show. Sometime after the 11th, we haven't picked a date yet. But if you know the story of Back to the Land, it's pretty big in the news right now. It's a white-only community in Arkansas that is undergoing legal. Well, actually, I believe they won the case. I think, to my knowledge, it was the ADL that was trying to sue them because fill in the blank. I don't know the details of that case, but I did just hear that they won. So this is a very, very, very big deal, as it now sets a legal precedent that whites can create their own communities, just like Jews do, and lots of other, like Amish and so on and so forth. So it's a really big deal. Shanae and Tanisha will be your pilot and co-pilot. So that's kind of another aspect of it as well. I think you know what I'm trying to say. Shanae, that's funny. It was, I don't know. Some things are just not. You just shouldn't talk about them. Anyway. Had a little experience with Shanae recently in public, but it's just like not fun to talk about. So I shall spare you the details. But back to the intentional communities, that's a really huge deal. Arwal's just making the rounds. Like he's the new, you know, new news or whatever. Like the thing that's going on. I guess if you can put it that way. Um, so yeah. And he's very much like well, he actually technically is a philosophy teacher, um, and like a lot of his prior videos and such were educational in that way, and then the people that were commenting on his videos and such, they red pilled him. Pretty interesting. So like just through logic alone, our case, our cause is something that's just how do I say unarguable. I guess if that's a word. So what do we got here? No sir, Island Fly Icelander. That's cool. Ethernet says, they won the case. Wonderful news. It really, really is. It's a very big deal. Yeah, it's a massive deal. So, he's traveling all over the states, and he's working on. Basically, they have set up the entire kind of like almost something like an LLC for opening up more of these communities all over the country. Uh, the concept being that, if you wanted to move to one, you could find one in your state. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to go to Arkansas. You know? And so that's cool. So um, you know, I keep my eye on news and politics and what's going on in the movement. And I've been watching and commenting quite a lot on Nick Fuentes, sort of moving the Overton window. Um, he was on what's her face, Candace Owens, and this, that, and the other thing. There's been a lot of action, with Fuentes. He's come a long way. He's not that annoying, snotty kid that he used to be, so many years ago. Um, and he recognizes that he's got to kind of clean up his act, so to speak. So then he had an interview with Arval, and it was very, very inspiring. I mean, I'm taking notes on that so that I can, um, you know, base my interview on a lot of these talking points that he's already covered. You know what I'm saying? That way, I'm on the same page with him and things that he's about, and we can kind of have an informed dialogue, you know. So that'll be good. Um, I'm not gonna like give it away quite yet, like what I'm gonna talk about. But my plan is to make a big bang. I want to make like a big bang, so to speak. So the initial concept is how can the arts um, drive whites towards white racial consciousness. Um, that's been a big topic for me for quite a while. Also, the other side of it is that like I've tried to create communities and things, and I've failed. I've had no luck. I've had, and to be honest, I'm pretty burned out over a lot of that stuff right now. I came super, super close a couple times. Um, and I'm really in a place where I'm like, I'm just going to focus on my work. I got a lot going on with this graphic novel and the investors and the marketing and the money, and so that'll be where I'm focusing my energy for a while, anyway. However, with this Arval stuff, um, something's coming down the line there. I just feel like it's an exciting time. There's some real development going on there, and in a sense, I can kind of transfer my energy and my interest in building these communities into what he's doing, because I already have all kinds of ideas. Um, it's kind of like if you try to build your own airplane or something, and then it's just kind of the parts of it are sort of sitting in the garage, like it's sort of kind of like that, and I need, I'd like to get it off the ground, you know what I'm saying? So we'll see how it goes. There's quite a lot that goes into the entire thing. Um, I prefer calling him Eric. I don't know, like Arval just sounds weird to me. But anyway, he's such an intelligent guy, and he's so down to earth. Like he's like very. What's the opposite of the word presumptuous? What's the opposite of presumptuous? Like he's just very like authentic, very honest, almost to a fault in a way, because we live in a world where people are very tricky, and they kind of people can be very manipulative, Um, I'm not saying he's naive. I didn't mean that, but it's just rare to really, you know, meet people that are kind of. Maybe it's because he's like from the south or something. Maybe there's some, something to do with that. I don't know. I don't know. It's very refreshing. It's very refreshing. Very nice. So we'll see. I'm super excited about it. He was just really candid about it. Like, oh, yeah, hi Don. Like, yeah, that'd be great. A little bit busy. Let's shoot for August. Da da da. Okay, wee. So there you go. Well, that'd be cool. Um, Humble, modest. Yeah, that's good. Hello to Push Pinder Cower. Push Pinder Cower. Okay, what pen is that? Oh my God, it makes such gorgeous lines. This is my baby right here. It can you read that? It's called the Fudenosuke. Fudenosuke, and it's a Japanese-made brush. When I get these, there's two. There's like this one's kind of grayish, dark, like black, and then this one's blue. Now, of course, the ink is black, but they're both a little different in that one, like the tips, they have these brush tips, and one tip is softer than the other. So like the softer one is just more bouncy, and you got to be more careful with it, but it gives you a greater range of expression, which is really fucking great. I love it. But I'm just pretty much, you know, like these are my standard go-to tools. Manga Waffen confirmed. Yes, indeed. Yes, yes, yes. I know, I know. Um, hey, if there were like, like, I don't know, German brush pens. Maybe I should look that up. Maybe there is. Maybe there's some kind of German-made pen brush that I could use. And then I could be like, das ist gut, ja. I don't know how to do a German accent very well. It drives me nuts thinking that like I could actually speak German right now because I had this. I was in college and I wanted to do an independent art study in Germany, and my college didn't approve it, and so I didn't get to go. But I often wonder like how different my life would have been had I gone there instead of Japan. You know what I mean? I could have been a totally different person right now. In fact, I'm sure I would be like quite a different person in many ways. But yeah, you can get a decent range out of this. These lines are just real bouncy. Let's read a couple of comments here. We did that. Hypocritic Oaf says, I asked the AI if the troubles are over for Arval, and the AI came up with a three-pronged attack and historical precedent. We need to keep supporting Arval. Do you mind sharing that? That would be very interesting to know. And let me say, Whopperoonies, I'm happy to have you here, Whopperoonies. Is this the first time you've visited my show? McBatman says, Mr. Kent, if you don't mind, could you please teach how to do figure drawing? That would take. Well, I would have to stop doing what I'm doing now, which I'm getting paid for, and I have a deadline, so I can't do that. However, I've been asked many times to do that, to do like an art class. Um, I hate to say it, I was an art teacher for years, and and I'm good at it and stuff. And like maybe once in a while I'll do an art stream, where I teach, but it just doesn't serve my purposes right now. And I don't, mean to sound selfish or whatever, but I got stuff I got to get done, and you know, like the publisher, the investors, they're waiting. They're waiting for their product that they paid for. So I gotta focus on the work that I'm doing. So my apologies to you, sir. Um, the thing about teaching art is it's really much better to do it in person. Um, so I pretty much teach like I have like a couple art classes that I used to teach, and then different age levels as well. So you get like adults, young adults, children, the whole thing. I don't like teaching little kids. I'm not saying I don't like little kids. I'm saying that I don't like teaching them because it's more of a little entertainment class. I'm more like a little clown that has to put on a show, and mommy and daddy have to be so happy, like, oh, you're entertaining my child. That's not what teaching art is about. I'm not a fucking clown. I'm sorry, pardon my language. Like if but years ago I needed money, and I did like use my skills to teach, and so I did, and I was good at it. You know, but it's just I'm in a much better place now. I have more freedom of choice, and that's awesome. So I am enjoying freelance. Now, and honestly, I really would like to get my own book out. You know what I'm saying? I've got my Militia Man project, and I really would like to see that published. Um, we'll see how it goes. I believe that when this thing gets launched, there's going to be a hell of a lot of effort into the marketing of it. Um, Very strong possibility that I will get hired to keep working on it. That there'll be um, more issues to illustrate, um, and or sort of like promotional art and things of that nature. Um, so this is pretty much like a long-term gig, if that makes sense. Or it'll totally flop, and then I'll go back to doing my own thing. I mean, those are the two options, basically. Um, I know. I really believe strongly that it'll have like a good run. It'll hit. It'll be like the big thing for a while, and then I don't know. We'll have to kind of talk to the investors and all of that, and figure out like where do we want to take it from here. I know that the writer has some contacts in Hollywood, and that's a thing. You know, I don't know that it'll be that big. Um, but it's just nice to know. I would say nice to know. Anyway, what do we got here? Oh, no new comments. Okay. Um, let's see. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about the Arval case, and where it's going from there. Because like um, Nick Fuentes, Thomas Rousseau, Jake Shields. There's quite a lot of people that are on board with what Arvol's doing, and so like if all of these people were to combine their powers, so to speak, something pretty insane could come out of this. I think. That's the impression I'm having. Um, let's read. Oh yeah, cool. Okay. Great White Ape is here. Help. Help me. Okay, welcome back. I did a little research, by the way, on White Ape Kung Fu, and I believe it's Tong Bay. Isn't that Tong Bay? I mean, I think you would know what Tong Bay is if you did the system, or if perhaps that's a different system than what you did. Bay in Chinese means white, so white ape. I don't know. Just tossing that out there. I don't know what Tong means though. I don't know. I know the word for monkey is hu. It'd be like bei hu, but that's a different grammar and not. I don't know if it's the same. Hu Trin means like monkey kung fu or monkey style. Gotta be one of the hardest styles out there. You have to be super, super, super flexible, and it's just like big white dudes don't. They can't move like that. It just doesn't. We don't operate like that. You'd have to be Asian or something like that. So what do we got? Yes. Okay. Did you actually watch any? So I have looked at tons of Tong Bay videos, other resources, not from your page. I still want to go to your YouTube and see what's there. So all I'm saying is that I am familiar with it, and I absolutely freaking love it. It's like I've never studied it myself, but it's a cousin of Long Fist, and Long Fist is the style that I did when I lived in Taiwan. So we're related per se, and as such, I would have like a really really good instinct with that system. I feel like it would just come to me very naturally. And I have massive respect for that system. Massive. I think it's definitely one of the better forms of kung fu out there, to be honest. Really hard to find a teacher in America that can teach that. I would say. I don't know where you're from or what the details of your situation, but you're very very fortunate to have learned that big time. I can, as far as like the relationship between Long Fist and Tong Bay, the only thing you can just anybody can see, just if you have a kind of pair of eyes, is that clearly the movements are really, really similar. The generation of power. Um, Long Fist 2 is more of a more general, how do I say? There's many kinds of long fist is essentially what I'm trying to say. So, whereas I think Tong Bay is a bit more specific. Um, you know, not I'm not a scholar on Tong Bay or whatever, but I'm just putting it out there. Let's back down a little bit and see the page we got here. Hooded is not sure what you use the weapons. Paddles, staff, chain, spear. So when I went to Shaolin, everyone was kind of like told to pick a weapon that they wanted to focus on, and I like a lot of them. I was like, well, I don't want to just do one. Um, but there's just something about the staff that I took to really, really, really well. So, like, I'm very, very good at staff and kung fu staff. Um, I learned some like Filipino stick fighting. I'm not good at it or whatever, but I'm handy. I know how to use the stuff to in a real basic form. I wouldn't try to fight a Filipino guy that knows his stuff. Because it's just never focused on that. A lot of respect for it, like crazy mad respect for Filipino arts. That's a different topic. But anyway, Muslim practitioners, most of our group. Really? Is that true? That's curious. Um, I think that the chain whip is a really neat. It's a really, really neat weapon. Maybe not the most. I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? Practical, but it's just cool. It's just a really cool weapon. I did start learning sword with one of my teachers, my more recent teachers. And I mean, I didn't get too deep into it, unfortunately, but I did get some fundamentals down that made me understand how Chinese sword really works and like what makes it, what gives it the magic, so to speak, if you will. So that was pretty neat. I appreciated that. Focus here a little bit. So yeah, I can't wait to start teaching on Monday and getting back into sparring. I can't wait. I'm super, super excited about that. What I thought is like if I joined the Arval's community, I would like teach everybody martial arts. That'd be a neat thing to do. They do have I don't know they have events, I guess. There's some kind of an event thing going on, and like they talked about like talent show and this and that. And I'm like, it'd be neat to go down there and then like bring my guitar, and do a couple of my songs for the talent show. Hang out with the community. That'd be pretty cool. Let's see, Muslim. Okay, yeah. Speaking of Muslim practitioners, when I had the sparring club with the Wing Chun teacher. He had two students. Where were they from? I think they were from Jordan. I think they were from Jordan. Uh, Two Muslim students, and this is before I became like red pilled and I didn't know anything about Islam, and like what what that whole thing. I mean, I don't want to go on a tirade about Islam, but you know what I'm saying. And I was just like, oh, they're just, like foreigners basically. They're from Jordan, and they seemed nice, but they were kind of weird. They were very, 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 very intense, like super, super intense. And but they were decent. The one brother was more kind of social than the other. The other one, he just looked like he was, you know, gonna blow up at any minute. Like he had just a weird intensity about him that was very uncomfortable. Anyway, I sparred both of them a lot, like quite a lot. And granted, they're practicing Wing Chun, so that's what they were using in the sparring, And as someone who's like, trying to help the people train and whatever, and my friend is generous enough to let me spar with his students and come into his school and all that stuff. I wasn't going too hard. I would go sort of hard enough to make it challenging or whatever, but I wasn't gonna like take anyone out, I wasn't gonna like knock anyone out or do anything of that nature. But sparring these guys, there was a very, very weird energy. It I don't know how to describe it, but like they'd look in your eyes while they're sparring you, and they had this like it was sort of like if like they were gonna kill you. I don't know how to describe it other than like there was this look in their eyes, like they were just looking into your soul and they just wanted to kill you. It was really disturbing. It was just something I never forgot about that. It was like, oh, those guys are weird. Um, and they had just weird opinions about stuff, and you just kind of let it go. You're like, oh well, they're from another country, they're Muslims, so whatever. Um, but yeah, that whole like death grip thing. The one brother, he was very what I call grabby, which means like while he's sparring you, he'll grab onto your, and hang on to you, and that's not Wing Chun. You don't hold people. That's not part of the system. But for some reason, he would do that all the time, and there's methods to deal with that, like whatever, if I almost like it when people grab because that means they just lost the use of one hand or one arm. You know what I mean? And you can use that against them. So I'm okay with that. But just bizarre. This is really kind of trippy. Anyway, let's read some comments. The Great White Ape says flexible weapons make you be aware of style, movements, and collapsing the body to receive blows and contort the body out of the way. Brilliant. I love what you're saying. Absolutely brilliant. The paddles are a simple extension of the forms. I'm not sure what you mean by paddles, to be honest. I know paddles. Forms. If you look at a video and tree conditioning form. Well, I do know, of course, the tree conditioning. Um, not sure what you mean by the paddles. Anyway, lopsaw grabbing hand. Yeah. Well, no. Okay, you are right, but you don't just grab it and hold on to it. You pull. You know what I mean? You're supposed to pull the person into a punch. You don't just hang on there and then like it's weird. Like, dude, let go. Like this. I mean, if you're gonna hold on to me, then do something. Like, what is the point of just holding on to me? Like, are you? I don't know. It was weird. But, it's another thing. Oh yeah. So now that we've alienated everybody with this weird martial arts conversation, what do you guys want to talk about? What's on your minds? What is on your minds? So I think one thing that I encounter a lot is that a lot of people are, I don't know how to say this. There's a sort of like we're gonna win versus we're not gonna win uh, mentality out there, and that being that like, well, I wouldn't, I'm not for these white communities because that's just like balkanizing and you know like this is our country and we're gonna take it back. And do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like these are two different mentalities. I don't think there's anything negative about what Arval's doing at all. I think it's a great thing what he's doing. But there is that kind of notion of like, are we going to win in the end? You know what I'm saying? It's a little scary. No, nobody knows. We don't have to get all black pilled or whatever about the topic. Um, I have to be honest though, I tend to believe that America is going to balkanize. I don't know that that's a great thing. Generally, I don't think that's a good thing. But as as far as I can tell, that appears to be the direction things are going. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah. It's another thing that Nick Fuentes brought up about like how just technology, Palantir, digital coin, all of these various things are kind of coming down the line, and humanity's never had to face such things before. So that's a whole other ball of wax right there. How are we going to cope with that stuff? We shall see. Um, let's see. Robert Pyle says, sounds like maybe he was trying to wrestle. Well, wrestling's wrestling. This is a different type of martial art, and it's not wrestling. Um, Let me read. Communal living, yes. The German Mennonites. Oh, like the German Mennonites. Yeah, this is kind of where we're going. Although it's not; these aren't religious-based communities. There's people are religious in the communities. I mean, there's whatever, a lot of Christians involved, but there's also pagans, and there's an agreement that you know you're going to tolerate the sort of diversity of white ways, if you want to call it like if someone's Christian, they're Christian. If someone's pagan, they're pagan, and you're not going to discriminate or harm in any way the other person because of their views on that. So I find that actually kind of fascinating. A community of whites where there are both pagans and Christians living together. That's fascinating. Have you ever heard or seen anything like that before? I'd say no. It's unique. Let's see. Someone told me, Corey says, someone told me we have to breakaway communities because we don't have a country anymore. And my response was, how can we expect to build isolated communities and expect to last without a homeland? So that's exactly what I was just referring to. That argument, what you just said. Um, it's like, whoa, Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball for starters, so I can't, like, there's that. I would say that I think these communities, at the very least, are getting people to think. You know what I mean? They're getting whites to think like, why should we have to make these communities? And you know what? I want to live in a community like that. You know, wow. And you get what I'm saying. It gets people to think. And then it's also the notion of like, why is the system against us? You know what I mean? So it's a very, very red pilling situation. You know what I'm saying? Um, so for that reason, there's a lot that's pretty phenomenal about it. Um, I would never discourage anyone from doing it. You know. Um, yeah, I don't know. Um, I'm definitely for it. I'm not against it. Um, hmm. So yeah, much to think about. Hippocratic Oath says, I think it will be harder for older people to grasp that the unity can be preserved and our cities will continue. So it's a deep, it's a actually a very sad topic because it it really demonstrates how far we've fallen. You know how like the world that I grew up in doesn't exist anymore, and that you know the traditions, the everything that was normal is gone. You know, and that people creating these communities don't even have a lot of those kind of what to call it, like whatever those standards were that we sort of grew up with, you know, and you have to rebuild them, you know, kind of start from scratch, you know. And I mean, it's good, of course, that they're doing it, but uh, it's also like terribly sad how we've gotten this far, we've gotten this bad, if that makes sense. I feel it like hugely, you know. My life, it's pretty tragic. My life's a very, very tragic life. There's very, very, very many things that I've lost in the course of my life. Some by my own decision, by own choices that I made bad choices. Um, Others because it's kind of like the zeitgeist, you know, the kind of the Jewish programming of society, you know. Uh, it's a lot. It's just a lot. It's just a little too much actually to even try to digest in a sense. But so yeah, it's good to see our people trying to resuscitate our culture and our greatness, and I'm very, very, very much about that. You know, I've always been about that. That's a big thing in the arts, obviously. Narrative control, identity, being the hero of our own stories. You know what I'm saying? That's massive. What do you think? What do you think Militia Man is? You know, how many hundreds of hours did I put into that? You know what I'm saying? Um, so, yeah. Um, Let's see. I think it would be harder. I read that. Mm, Splatter Cat, were you off on merch operation campaign or overdose of catnip? Not sure that would go well. Ape, I did both. Hippocratic Oath says witness Alex Jones trying to hold on to the old ideas about libs, conservatives, and Nick had to tell him that there is no difference and the Republic is already gone. See, once again, Hippocratic Oath for the win. Like, slam dunk, my man. Slam dunk. And that, like, you could really see, like, the existential sorrow in him from that. Like the feeling of being lost. Like, existentially lost. Do you understand? And it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. It's and I don't know. Our people have to be plugged into that zeitgeist. We have to know this pain. We have to feel the pain and be real about it and say, like, this is wrong and I'm gonna make it right. You know what I'm saying? So, but as long as you're living in la la land about, like, oh, protect our democracy, you don't understand how democracy works, then you're fake and gay. You know what I'm saying? And that's just not, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. Um, Democracy, fucking joke. Oh, I just saw this amazing clip. I don't know who the guy was, but he was quoting Erdogan. Erdogan is the leader of Turkey. I don't know what his first name is. And the quote, Erdogan says that we will ride the train of democracy to basically Islamifying the West. That democracy itself is the tool of Islamification of Western civilization. We will win over the West through democracy. And this, I want to punch people in the face like a speed bag over this topic. Like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. You don't give the enemy of our people the right to vote, let alone fucking power. There's that clip of, or that, there's something on Twitter about that one guy. He's like an Indian dude that runs, he's prime minister or something in England, and he's like, oh, I represent the people and I'm English and all this horse shit. It's like, fuck you. You know what you are, know what you're we know what you're doing. Fuck off. Fuck the fuck off. Not us. Get the fuck out of our country. So whatever. There's my little rah rah about that. But yeah, it's just, and who cries the loudest with the Democrats? We're gonna protect our democracy. Protect our democracy. Yeah, I wonder why. You're the ones who've been fucking, you know, like, they're masters of like, how do I put it? Like, the criminal methods of using democracy. But like Fuentes said, like, there's no difference really now. Because both parties are anti-white. Both parties are controlled by Israel, or Israeli interests, Mossad, da 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 da. You got all that shit. It's just us, guys. Only we can. No one's coming to save us. You know what I'm saying? So there you go. That's why I'm very sympathetic to Arval and these communities. What it's all going to look like in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, I don't know. But I would imagine that there's going to be the consolidate. It's not just living on a fucking farm. Like, it's consolidating money and resources and intelligence and assets of all kinds. It's basically white people acting like, I hate to say this, but in a sense, learning from the Jews and becoming a minority. Like, the Jews were always a minority, And I'm not saying like we're going to be like kidnapping people's kids and drinking their blood like the Jews do, on Passover or something like that. That's not who we are. But that was a little rough, I know. You get kind of where I'm going with that. I think is that it's not an admission of defeat per se. It's a rational and good thing for us to do. So that's my story, and I'm sticking by it. There you go. Wow, but that's highly quotable. What you just said there, Hippocratico. Very, very powerful stuff. Robert Pyle says, well, we currently live in a country with every race and religion. You can think of so being in a community that has many religion, but only one race sounds like it could be done, yes. Ape says folk magic would be acceptable in Wiccan. Hippocratic Oath, the Amish and Mennonites have already shown it's possible, successful, they're growing. Splatter says he did say that they would allow any traditional European religions. Correct. That includes Christianity, various pagan beliefs. As long as, yes. It's nothing like laying waste to the juice boxes while tripping on catnip. Thank you for the comedy relief there, buddy. And they have to be willing to tolerate one another. Yeah, I mean, they do background checks on people. The last interview I just listened to, he was talking about like the process of getting people out of the community. That just because you're in, you have a certain kind of, cultural norms that you have to abide by, to be part of the community. So, and they're looking for smart people, resourceful people. It's not just any old, vagabond can just show up and be like, give me a home. You, do you understand what I'm trying to say here? They're looking for like the right stuff. You know what I mean? The red stuff. Maybe they'll get Tom Cruise or something. So those are called speed lines, and they give the impression of movement. Rishi Sunak. He was prime minister. Must be him. I don't. Anyway, I don't care to remember their names. Sound starchy again. Oh, really? Save us. I would be happy if they ignore us. We'll see if Alex Karp leaves us alone. Yeah, I mean, you can open up any can of worms and like, well, this and that, and what about, and what about, and what about. But I feel like the days of self sabotage. I hate to say self sabotage, but we're not a movement if we don't move, and that's that. Done. So we're living in a new time, a new timeline, a new age, and this is the age of action. So that's what's going down. And I'm hoping to whatever capacity that I can actually help our. You'll see when he comes on the show. I'm going to present a bunch of ideas, and then we'll see how that goes. is networked right in with some of the top influencers. Um, when I saw him and Thomas Rousseau together, I felt so inspired. I was like, these are real Americans. This is what real Americans look like. You know, these are the sons of our forefathers. You know, these are people that are taking a hold of destiny. They're taking risks. You know, and it's inspiring. It's very inspiring. So it's good to get behind people like that. I choose going to home planet being Mars. Okay. Roro, delete this video when done. Really? Corey says, I completely agree with you. We need to learn from the strategies that other groups are successful instead of just complaining and, yeah, about them as if it will stop our victimization. 1,000%, buddy. Cracking loose some intermittent. Sorry about that. They're definitely having a moment on the page. White ape, weird fuzzy sun. Damn. I'm probably gonna wrap up the show in a minute here because it is getting late. Oh fuck, we're freezing. Somebody say something in the chat and let me know if there's anything going on. It sounds like the video froze. All right, I guess we're out. Well, until next time, cats. Oh, you are there. Something here. It's good. Okay. Something. All right. I said say something, and you jackasses all have to say something. No, no. I love you guys. I'm just joking. It is late though. I gotta hit the showers, hit the sack. Really, really good conversation. Excellent crew in here tonight. It's really good to get people that are serious and knowledgeable and can, you know, have good conversation that is meaningful, you know, and purposeful and productive. So I appreciate you guys quite a lot. So I will leave you. Hit that like button. Yes, sir, Bob. Um, we shall see you guys on the flip side. What's today? Friday. Anyway, have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay. Keep on rocking in the free world.